at Sabrachi Jewelry Design, or Sabrachi. I don't even say his name right anymore because of Zach. He's a sponsor of Now We Go, and he's a sponsor of this show. He's a dual sponsor. He's a gemologist. He's a jeweler. He's specialized in CAD design, and he's also a branding specialist. You need anything at all done in those categories, Matt is the best motherfucker for that. It's D'Antonio and Klein Jewelers in Philadelphia, PA, and he's also going to be doing it soon to be in Lehigh Valley, PA. You can call or DM for appointments. He's in Philly on 726 Sanson Street, and you can follow him on social media at Sabraki Jewelry Design. He's made pendants for finishers. We're working on stuff together. It's not just jewelry. We're working on pendants and all kinds of things. He's making rings. He can do anything that you need, from design to gems to jewelers. He is the real deal, and I'm excited. He's a childhood friend who grew a diamond business. He's a jeweler. We did a podcast with him. It's a cool story. Check him out. Sabraki Jewelry Designs. Mad J's Barbecue, www.madjsbarbecue.com. They take cash, they take credit card. You can order online. Order online. It's the easiest for everybody. They can also call in their order. They got 2 locations. They are killing the barbecue game. Started out small. Now these guys got 2 separate locations. They're doing catering. They're doing pop-ups at Seven Sirens Brewery. What else can these guys do? The Nazareth location is over at 52 East Lawn Road. Anybody knows where Nazareth is? It's down past 7-Eleven, right next to Rita's. Shout out Calandra. They are at 52 East Lawn Road, and that's 610-365-7275, and www.madjsbarbecue.com. Justin just opened up the second location, and he is a part of Willow Creek Brewery, and that is 643 Penn Avenue, West Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be having these guys on the show, and they are crushing barbecue, catering, in-store, pickup. They're doing it all, man. They're doing it all. Check them out at madjsbarbecue.com, and thank you for being a sponsor. Precision Laser. Precision Laser is a family-owned aesthetic laser practice in Easton, Pennsylvania that was founded in 2019. They offer laser hair removal, laser tattoo removal, vascular and pigmented lesion removal, acne treatment, and more. Their team of licensed experts use cutting-edge technology and safe laser protocols to deliver you the best skin results throughout Easton, New Jersey, and the greater Lehigh Valley. They provide free consultations and affordable pricing to make laser treatments accessible to you all. To learn more about their services or book an appointment, please go to precisionlaserspecialist.com or call 484-306-0089. They are located at 42 South 3rd Street in Easton, PA, 18042. What are they running this summer? Hair removal. I'd like to get this whole thing removed because of what do I want? A summer beach bod. They are running for $165 per session. You pick 2. Armpits, bikini Brazilian, upper legs, lower legs. This is what we're doing with them. I'm excited to have them, and I'm excited for them to be working with us. They're on the podcast. You can check out everything they're doing on the website, and thank you for being a sponsor. Look good this summer. Look good. You brought the food from? I hit them up about coming on the podcast. They want to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I brought some Colombian food from Joel's wife's spot.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I brought him some Colombian food the last time, or the time I was on.
Yeah, I listened to it.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Yo, this is good, bro."
It was good.
I found they have an empanada made of guava too.
Nice.
So I brought him one, and then I brought one for myself.
Guava and cheese.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because you put me onto that with the ones that you brought down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never had the empanada con guava, and I was like, "Ooh, this is the new wave right here."
I like getting into different foods. I stopped at a Polish deli yesterday.
That's the one that was
in
by the
Bartonsville.
bagel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got kibasi. I got jarred sauerkraut. The donut I did not like. It was just a weird filling, and it was almost not like a donut. It was like bread. It's definitely like 100% like Polish food. It isn't like Americanized at all. It was like, nice. But I love going into places like that. And I was like, give me what is good. She's like, everything. I'm like, give me kibasi. So they had like smoked kibasi and stuff. But I grew up eating kibasi, sauerkraut. I'm German.
Nice.
What's the place called? Because I'm up by Bartonsville.
I think it's called the Polish Deli. It's next to Mike's Pizza and the Bagel Experience. There's also like an Arby's over there and shit.
Okay. The is Bartonsville, you said?
Yeah,
That's
I could be
the one
wrong.
that's off of 33, right?
Well, we took 33 like we were going up, like headed up north.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't driving.
But that's the exit right by the outlets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was before or right around there.
Yeah. One of the guys I work with.
I'll pull
lives
up the
there.
address then. But it was good. I mean, everything. It was a cool little plaza. I didn't know that was out there, but the bagel experience was. They had a good bagel. It was the best I've had in the area. I mean, we were talking bagels before. Sammy's is good, but
Where's Sammy's at?
Forks. Try that place out.
Oh, okay.
Sam, is that in the Forks Plaza?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you've had it?
Nah, that's the spot that I was telling you about. That if we was to get something to eat, it's called like Green Vita or something like that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that place is over there too. I want to go talk to them. I thought about having them on the podcast.
Yeah, they have.
I see a lot of different people using them.
Yeah, they sell like if you want to watch what you're eating a little bit, you could.
They have juices and shit too.
Juices, yeah, they have juices. I know they have one in the Eastern Farmers Market, but they also have their own shop in the Forks Township Plaza. Yeah.
Nice.
We're rolling. This is the podcast, so you don't have to be nervous anymore.
I thought we was just talking.
No, that's how I like to get into it that way. I did it with him once, and I did it with somebody else, and it was just easier to transition into the podcast.
Nice.
So I had you on, and you came on with the Trainer Don't podcast when JM was cranking his shows out. And then he was telling me what you guys were doing with the podcast, and then how you guys work out, and then you do the podcast with Quentin, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, cool, take me there and let's go through it. So this morning I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and I've been doing my privates with Jimbo. So I got up and was there. I think we did 8 to 9, and then we started working in the back. I mean, I want you to kind of go through what you guys do with the back room and the podcast and everything. But man, I feel so good. Like, I didn't realize how terrible I felt until like when we did that mobility stick. I was like, oh, I'm like, I can move. I'm like, I mean, we stretched beforehand, but it's been a while since I've been like, woke up and be like, dude, like, you were fucking out of shape. I mean, I played football. I was always athletic. So like doing all that stuff, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you can do all this stuff. Like, you're just eating cake and cheeseburgers and not doing anything at all. So it was awesome to go there this morning. It definitely like jump started me wanting to get back into exercising.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that, but you could start us off.
First, I like that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I like to tell people is they think that they don't have it in the bandwidth to have their health a priority, but it's just going to contribute to everything that you do, whether you're running a business. The sharper you are with your health and your mind, it's just going to trickle down into what you're doing also with other things that you got going on, and it's like the mobility stick stuff that I was doing with you. Like, when people lift, they think that they got to do all this hardcore training all the time and beat themselves up in the gym, but it's quite the opposite. You can use the mobility sticks just to increase quality of movement, your range of motion, and feel better about yourself. Just like you said, like how it opened up your body, and you just realized like, wow, like, that extra range and that opening up my body in that way really just made me feel a lot better.
It made me hold on, I gotta turn this down a little. It made me wish that I would have done it before the private, because that's my big issue with only going once a week and just getting back into working with Jimbo. And a lot of the problems I have is I'm not mobile, because I'm so like, I told him this morning, like, I'm so used to living wrong, like, because I don't go to the doctor, I don't do shit like that. I have an insurance for forever. So like, when my back got fucked up, I just adjusted to being fucked up. Yeah. So then like, when I go in to do that kind of shit or exercise, I end up getting hurt because I'm not fucking mobile, and I'm like just this slab of concrete, and I'm like trying to do this shit, and I'm like it's like, a fucking Rubik's Cube moving around.
And the funny thing, Jimbo's been working with me now for the last 2 weeks or so he knows a lot of the stick mobility, so it wouldn't be a bad idea for him
to do the stick mobility before we start.
Like 5-10 minutes, he'll take you through the stick mobility routine, and then you could get into your the jiu-jitsu private, what you was doing, and it would just one thing leads to another, and it trickles down, and then the more flexibility, mobility you increase, then you start. Then I took you through the the animal flow movements that I was trying to have you do, where the duck walks and then the ostrich reaches. That's more like a little bit more advanced, but that's a great way to also get a great sweat going while you increase your mobility as well.
Yeah. So when I first started working with Bryant, as far as like strength and conditioning or whatnot, it really opened my eyes. Like we would do like a 15, maybe 20-minute warm up, outside in the Easton high school parking lot of just mobility. And at the end of that, when we were getting ready to work out, I was like, I felt great. And I was just like, oh, okay, now we can actually move. And it's absolutely right. Like what Bryant says, like sometimes you get so caught up in like, oh no, I have to lift heavy. I have to, do this because this is everything that has been told or really showcased for however long, and then when you do something like something as simple as 10 minutes of mobility with 10 minutes on a speed ladder and then maybe a couple of minutes of jumping rope, you've already got like a 20, 25, maybe a 30-minute workout in, and that's your entire warm-up. So now you're nice and loose, you're not stiff, and I completely relate to what you're saying. Like when you first start moving and you're like really stiff or whatever else, that's absolutely when you get injured, like when you're trying to move in a direction that your body's just like, nah, like we're not ready for that yet.
It happens to me every time because I get motivated like I am right now. And like even with doing kickboxing with artists, I did that for a while, and then my knee went out, and then that was just something that didn't happen there. I was like hiking or something, and then it's like to rehab the knee back and everything, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll start jogging again, and then it's just like my weight's too heavy, but then I'm so tight I just get hurt. And that's just like but then after we did that shit in the back, I'm like, yo, this is what you need to be doing every fucking morning, so you're not like, I already know I'm gonna sleep correctly tonight. Nice. Like, and I don't sleep right because I have to sleep on a couch because my back's so fucked up. If I sleep in a bed, I'm like locked into these weird positions, and then like I'm just living like. My one friend who's a yoga teacher explained it to me that like when you get hurt and then you don't fix it, you just start adjusting, like your body automatically adjusts to the injury. So then if you don't ever take care of it, or like you wait for it to heal on your own and not go to like physical therapy and shit, your body just starts developing a way to like if I screw my knee up, now I'm just gonna walk wrong. And then I'm just gonna walk wrong the rest of my life now, and then that's never adjusted. So my back is like not right, and I've just been like, my whole body tenses up because it's like trying to protect my back, and then I'm just super stiff constantly, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's a great point because the human body is amazing in that way. So
it's weird.
It like overcompensates,
and you don't know it because it just does it on its own to like keep you safe and to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. It's like meant to like persevere. You know what I'm saying? So you create all these muscle imbalances, and then you start walking on your right side, and then it just shifts your hips, and now your
hips are fucked up.
Alignment is all messed up. So
I felt that shit like 100% after my motorcycle accident. Like years later, now I realize like, damn man, like I wished I had done the recovery the right way, and not just like 8 months after shattering my femur, I took an Army physical fitness test, and I ran the 2 miles in like a little over 15 minutes. I definitely should have not pushed my body to try and go at 100% right away. Like I should have taken more time to heal up and everything else. But it's funny, man. Like you learn these things like later on, and then like I think it was a buddy of mine was just having me do like pistol squats, and I tried to do it with my right leg, and I was just like, nah, this ain't it, chief. Like I'm not able to move that way.
Yeah.
Not with my right leg, but ever since I started working with Bryant, it's funny, like those little imbalances have, like my balance, I mean, you remember me, like starting out, the balance that I would have on one side was way better than the other, but now like my balance on both sides is starting to kind of even out, which, it's an awesome feeling, not waking up as stiff, and then being able to move and not that I ever felt horrible, but like you're able to have a little bit more flexibility, especially like waking up. You don't feel as tight and constricted. Like you can actually wake up and feel good.
And when not feeling tight and constricted, I just like just leaving. As soon as I walked out the doors, I was like, oh man, like my whole mood's changed. Like I feel like I'm going to be able to handle stressful situations different today, because like I feel like my stress builds up and then I'm tight from stress, but then I'm tight from not taking care of myself. And then there's nowhere for any of that to go. And then it just like either turns into like me being pissed off, me being not in control of my emotions, me being making rash decisions, and then it's like, then I just get, at the end of the day, there's nowhere else to go, and then I'll just be like, fuck it, like I don't care, I'm just gonna get a fucking pizza, I'm not fucking cooking, I don't fucking, like you're, like I'm mentally and physically burned out just from not having anything
like
going on correctly from the beginning, from the moment I wake up to the rest of the day.
Well, it's like quicksand, man. Like the moment that one thing happens, you know, you can easily go down that rabbit hole of like, oh shit, now what else is gonna go wrong? And then, you know, you start finding and noticing like all these little things that are happening around you, and then it just continues to add and add. But like that's one of the biggest things that that we kind of figured out early, is just like, man, the best feeling after a workout where you give 100%, you give everything that you've got to that workout, and then you leave, or you're after you're done with it, you're able to look at the things around you that were kind of stressing you out or kind of annoying you or whatever else, and you have like this clarity, because like when you have all that shit happening around you all at the same time, it's like a blur, right? Like you're in this haze where you can't really see clearly or whatever else, because you're so submerged into it. But then like after that workout or whatever else, you know, everything is kind of clear, you can kind of see where things are, and you can kind of slow things down in a way where you're not fully immersed into it. You know, you've kind of removed yourself a little bit, so where you can think and view things a little bit clearer, right? Like, you know, what's your take on that?
Also, you know, as we go through our day-to-day life, it's such a slippery slope, you know, so it's like how you were saying, you don't show up for your workout, and then now you know you were supposed to do it, and that's why you're upset, and now you're just lashing out on your relationships, and just having that discipline to know that whether I feel like it or not, sometimes I gotta show up. And sometimes the mobility stuff, like the easier things, is harder to show up for, because it's kind of like tedious in a way. It's kind of boring, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of easier, and you kind of just like overlook them. But
like stretching, no, it's just simple shit. It's always the simple shit that you're like, I'll do it later, and then all that. I kind of view it as like the easy fruit to reach, right? You know, that means that's going to go rotten first, right? So then you're going to be sitting there with all this stuff that's on your plate that you could have just gotten done and moved on, and it, you know, it wouldn't be piling up, right? But the more and more that you let just kind of sit there, and you're like, I'll do that later, or I'll do that later, and then, you know, by the end of the day, you have like, I don't know, 5-10 different things that you're like, fuck. And then that fucks you up going into your sleep, because now you're like going to bed pissed off or angry at yourself, because you're like, man, I should have fucking gotten that done. Now I have to get that done tomorrow or whatever else, right? So, you know, a big piece is, you know, it doesn't matter what's going on. Like, if the shit has to get done, get it the fuck done.
Yeah, and also, you know, a lot of these things is easier said than done. You know, like that's what I'm learning more. It's just people got to start where they are. You know what I'm saying? And start with one day. And try to be victorious with those little battles. You know, and once you do that, then you build momentum, and that's all you can ask for, is to like build momentum.
Yeah, but you got to make the choice to, like, okay, I'm not going to wait until Monday. I'm not going to wait until tomorrow. I'm not going to wait until next week to start this. Like, why wait until, like, you're never going to have the perfect moment to do it. But if you're at that point where you know you want to do this, right? Like, and you're like, you keep stalling, whatever day, like, you woke up today, just do it today. Start today. It doesn't matter that you fucked it up yesterday. It doesn't matter that you missed however many days or whatever else. If this is something that you truly want to start, whatever it may be, right? As long as for me, as long as it's positive or productive, right? and you're not harming yourself in any kind of way or whatnot, then just start today. Like, what's wrong? Why push it off?
It's never too late too. It's never too late. That's one of the things that people think that they say like, I wish I would have started things even sooner than when I did, but I'm just glad I started when I started, because it's pretty much, it's never too late to start. And I do believe that all these things, like, let's say training, working out, all these things are a form of self-care, just so you be a better person, and for those around you, it's all self-care. So like, you're not selfish when you prioritize your training. Like, don't feel bad about that when you decide to ditch a couple friends on going to the bar or doing this and prioritizing maybe your health more. I'm saying, like, I'm gonna say no to this, you know what I'm saying, because I know I gotta get up tomorrow and do what I said I wanted to do, and I'm gonna prioritize myself, because that's self-care.
You know what, man, that's like, when you do that, that's probably one of the hardest things for some people to do, because they don't want to let someone down, or it's just hard to kind of say no to people that you really care about. But on the other end, if those people really cared about you, they would respect what you're trying to accomplish and not give you shit for it, right? So like, like, if people know that you don't really want to drink or whatever else, like, I use this a lot because, like, in Army culture, it's a big thing to, like, drink. Like, every time that you're with your soldiers or whatever else, like, you're hanging out, like, oh, let's go get fucked up, right? But like, if people around you know what you're trying to accomplish in your personal life or whatever else, and they're like, oh, you don't have to drink, like, whatever. But I say all that because, like, if people around you really respect what you're trying to do and they understand what you're trying to do, they're not going to put you into a situation where you have to tell them constantly no, like, leave me the fuck alone,
Yeah.
I think what happens a lot of times is when you're trying to start early to do something, and you're trying to, like, separate from your friends who are not working out, or they're not, doing jujitsu or stuff like that. I know for me personally, like, it's hard to get in a rhythm where you're so used to catering to your friends or doing stuff with your friends, and then when you try and do, like, your own self-care, or, like, get into a rhythm of doing your own stuff, and then you kind of start feeling like you're neglecting your friends. And I feel like that's hard sometimes. But then when you start making the right decisions and then telling them, hey man, like, I'm trying to lose weight, like, they're like, oh cool, like, yeah, you should fucking lose weight, like, we've been telling you about that. So sometimes I think it's like a mental thing. It is with me anyways, where it's like, I don't want to not break the cycle of what I do with my friends, because it's like a thing. But then sometimes it's like you have to kind of break the cycle of everything you're doing, and then put, like, my big thing is, like, what Zach always told me is, like, get to that one class, go once a week, just go once a week. And then when you start getting in the rhythm of going once a week, then you're going to know whether or not you're going to keep doing it. And that's kind of like what my focus is now. But that once a week is now turning into, like, me being at the gym and talking to the different guys, and then seeing that they go swimming on Mondays. And I said to Jimbo, I'm like, yo, I love exercising and swimming. Like, if you guys are doing that, like, I'm totally down. Well, now I'm swimming and I'm doing jiu-jitsu. And then I did the stuff in the back with you guys, and I'm like, all right, well, like, I really like doing that. So, like, that's definitely something that I can put in. And I'm like, all right, well, if you keep coming back, you're going to end up exercising all the time, and then be healthy all the time. Then your body's not going to hurt. Then you're going to lose the 30 pounds that you want to lose. And then you're going to be like, but, like, that uphill battle is so fucking, it's so hard.
Inches.
Yeah,
Like,
it is inches. And, like, that's the biggest thing I took from having to restart. Cause, like, I keep looking back, like, when I got sober, I lost so much weight cause I quit drinking and I was running every fucking day. And then, like, I was eating clean cause, like, it was just, it was the only time in my life that I was completely fueling my body and exercising at the same time. And I'm like, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel. Like, this is what the optimal, this is how the body's supposed to work. And I remember just being like, getting good sleep, waking up, like, being able to do shit. And it's so funny how many people don't do that. And I know that there's other, and then I fell off. I did that for probably, it's what I had to do to stay sober at that time. To run every fucking day like that was just a distraction. But then I learned, it was funny because I was sitting there waiting after Jimbo's private, and I was like, oh man, Thanksgiving's coming up. And I was like, holy shit. Because once I start moving around, it's I start remembering what I used to be able to do. And then I was like, I remember one Thanksgiving, it was the first year I was sober. I ran to my parents' house from Nazareth to Bushkill. Wow. And I ran there for Thanksgiving. I got up, put on joggers, and I was running that much, and I was like, yo, but it was like anything else. I came back to it so much that I was like, hey, how many miles is it to mom? So I got in my car, I did it, and I was like, well, I'm doing 8 miles a day. I'm like, that's 6, and then if I eat dinner and then I come back, or it was maybe 10, and then I was like, I could just come, and then they were concerned about me running too much, and they're like, we'll take you home. but I needed to run at that point, but I was like, holy shit, man, you used to be, even when we were doing the exercise, I'm like, yo, bro, you used to do fucking football. What the fuck? This is the shit you used to do. How far did you really fall off from all this? And then sometimes I look back to when I was 28 and had my health completely together. And I'm like, dude, you need to get back there. But so many times over the last 10 years, I've been like, fuck it. And I'm running 8 miles. And then I get into 3 and blow my fucking knee out because I'm fucking 25 pounds more than I was before. And then now, with that whole show up every Monday or try and get in once a week, now I'm like, yo, dude, this is the way to do it. Let's just creep in. Because I said to Josh, I'm like, when do you go swimming? And he's like, well, we try and go every Monday. And I'm like, cool, I'll go every other Monday. Yeah. I can't do which is the biggest thing with me. It's how I started all this, is massive over excess, but that doesn't work out when you're at the polar end of where you were with health.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Mike. And I like to commend you for finding a way to become sober, because I know how much of an uphill battle that can be. But I would like to add, I bet you when you completed that run to your parents' house, you knew you earned that meal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's instead of you just being, I'm not gonna run, and then on top of that, I'm gonna just let it all go to waste over the holidays.
It was all lessons I was learning. I was sober for 10 years, and in that 10 years, I learned so much on what I would do. But I couldn't just go to my parents' house and drive there, because I would have all of this extra energy of being uncomfortable because my brothers are drinking and all that. And it's when you push yourself to a point where you can't get, I don't have, if I get anxiety, even today, if somebody cuts me off on my way to the restaurant store, I'm not gonna give a fuck. I'm like, man, I'm fucking tired, man. That was a long morning for me. I don't exercise, but then I'm like, okay, cool, man. People are beeping because I'm doing 35. If I'm not exercising, I'm fucking, I'm just, where are we going? So it's when you take the blockers away with exercise, it just goes out. There isn't anywhere for it to go. It just, all right, cool. I don't so then I went to Thanksgiving, sat down, and was like, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, cool, I don't care, man. Can we eat? You take that nervousness but if you're stiff and stressed and you have nowhere to go, I feel like it's the same reaction from your emotions. If I'm blown out from doing exercises, that's where my emotions go. If I'm super tight and I'm like, I have so much going on, there's 228 bagels to do, and then somebody cuts me off, I'm like, fuck you, and they following people to their house. I don't want to do that shit. I don't want to do that at all. I want to be, it's the same thing. You smoke a little bit and calm down. It's how you. But now I know, and you used to be able to get away with it younger. The older you get, the more you can't do that shit. You can't. It's really hard to control emotions.
And that's the whole idea behind the Primal Warrior podcast. Why me and Jamie connected was, to spread that message. Just to find a way. Because training, man, for my life, it just I don't know another way. I don't know another way to deal with those things that life comes with. Whether it's the traumas of your past experiences or whatever it is that you're dealing with. I don't know another way. How else am I gonna get this energy? Because again, we're all vessels that the more energy you let pent up, to find that outlet for it could be dangerous if you don't have training involved, right? Because then you're angry, and then what happens when you're angry, right? You make these irrational decisions, and it could take one bad decision where, you know, somebody honks the horn at you. You hear stories like that all the time.
Dude, it's all over. Fucking World Star and whatever other viral thing they go.
Somebody hops out with...
It's crazy watching that shit, dude.
Somebody hops out with a gun, and then one bad decision, or you have, and then you decide to take it there. That's a life-changing decision where if you wasn't so angry that way, maybe that could have been avoided. You know what I'm saying?
But I think I think what Mike was saying earlier, like as far as like, you know, that intensity, right? Like intensity is great, but consistency is better, right? Like when you're, and it's so easy to fall off because like we have all this external shit happen around us all the fucking time, right? So it's easy to get caught up in that mix. But you know, when you ground yourself, and Mike, I also got to give it to you, man. Like it's so easy to fall off and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna find something else. I'm not gonna go back to that. You know, it's hard to get back up again and keep going. Get back up again, and keep going. Like, you know, fall down 9 times, get up 10. Right? Like that's not easy to do. You know, it's a lot easier said than done. But you know, a lot of people think, you know, and live their life in this like intense way of like we were talking earlier as far as like traffic goes. We're like, why are you stressing the fuck out about you're gonna lose your mind and you're gonna be in this rush. You're
being somewhere on time.
Yeah, but if you're stuck in traffic, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah, you're fucked.
Like just fucking accept it.
Yeah.
Like relax, take a deep breath. You're not gonna get nowhere, right? Like you're gonna be stuck in this traffic one way or another, but at the end of the day, you're gonna get where you're going safely, right? But like when people start like trying to find a way to control shit that's outside of their control, like listen, you gotta accept the fact that you in this traffic. I just went through this shit yesterday on my drive back from fucking Virginia.
What'd you say, it was 9 hours of traffic?
9-hour drive that should have been only 4, right? But you know, at the end of the day, like me and my LT, we fucking just put on like comedy specials, and we just started talking and listening to shit. So like, like you just gotta find a way to kind of deal with the shit that and it's a lot easier said than done, right? Like, so, you know, you have to constantly like train your mind to find like that silver lining or a way to kind of work around the problem. And it's not really a problem, it's just like an obstacle in front of your face, right? And you're like, okay, well, how do I deal with this? How do I approach this, right? But yeah, and that's a big piece of like the training, right? Like there's times where I'm like, all right, Bryant, what you got for me today? Like, let's go. And then he'll look at me and be like, nah, like today's just mobility. Like you gotta let your body like heal up. And I'm like, all right, let's do like 40 minutes of mobility. And he's like, nah, it'll be like something simple, but again, it's bringing back that like intensity down to just remaining consistent. Because if you can be consistent over 5-10 years as opposed to being really, really intense for 2, right, then what's better, right? Like I'd rather be consistent over time than anything else, right?
Yeah, the consistency plays a major part, especially for me with just showing up. And it's like I knew
that's the hardest thing to do, though. Just show up. Because
like you know, I knew going into it was going to take a while. And the first private we did, like I was like, dude, I can't fucking move. I'm like, I'm fucked up. I'm like, I'm fat. I'm like, you know, we're laughing about it, but like, you know. And then the second time I went, and then Jimbo's like, hey, like you're getting this a little bit better. You're definitely, and then we're building confidence. And then, you know, then the third, you know, I'm on, I think my 4th, 5th by this point. I only missed 1 week, and I tried every day, and then I didn't feel good, and I didn't want to get anyone sick, so I didn't go in. But like the consistency of showing up is what's now starting results. It's not jujitsu or anything else I'm doing. It's me getting in there, and then now I'm slowly becoming comfortable. And then like even today I was leaving, I was like, all right, I'm like, I think I want to, you know, focus because I always want to stretch at at the end. And then I was like, I think I'm going to focus less on the stretching and then see if we can do one more move. And then like now I'm seeing like, oh, dude, like, yeah, you're finding what works for you. And showing up in the consistency of that. It wasn't about me trying to learn jujitsu, and it wasn't about me trying to do anything there other than figure out how the fuck am I going to get here every week. And there's so much shit going on. And because if I would try and do it 2 times a week, I would start having to miss multiple classes, or the money would start adding up. And then there's always the excuse to be like, this isn't for me. And I feel like I see a lot of stuff as to why people wouldn't do it, or why people don't get into it, or why it's hard for anyone to show up to a gym and start exercising. And then now I think like it's finally starting to click on, personally for me, on like what works for me. And it's 100% what works for anyone when they try and do shit. Yeah.
It's your journey.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so you're not trying to, you know, you're not trying to walk down Bryant's path, right? Like Bryant's going to go down his own path.
I think a lot of people get confused on that when they try and get into stuff.
Especially like for me, I'm still an athlete per se, right? So my training is gonna look way different than what it would for you.
Yeah, because you asked me, you were like, I'm like, hey, it's my back and stuff, and then you were like, we're just gonna be doing this mobility stuff, and I'm like, I just want to move. I don't care about picking any of that shit up. I'm like, I just want to be able to move by the time we leave.
Josh said it best. He's like, since I started doing the mobility with Bryant, I'm able to touch stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it's really profound, because like you can move in a way that you don't hurt, and then you take that and you add it to jujitsu, or
that's what I'm obsessed with now. Once I did the jujitsu, then that, and I was like, ooh, I should do that first. And I was like, ooh, if I do the mobility, then I'm going to be able to fucking move, and then that's going to be able to make jujitsu easier for me, which means I'm going to learn more. And I was like, do those 2 things. Now just do those 2 things, and then see what happens outside of that. Now you're going to throw swimming in as well, and I'm like, let's go. Dude, awesome. It's taken me a long fucking time to figure out what and then I want to throw kickboxing in, but I know I'm not ready to get back into that, because that's a whole nother fucking monster with Artis. But it's like,
Artis is a different animal.
But like I love doing his class, and like he even said, he's like, oh, this is working. He's like, dude, I'm like, all right, let's start fucking around with shit January, February. Let's figure something out. Even if I do once a month kickboxing now, because I have all this other stuff going on, I can at least do it. Then I can start coming in for classes. And I was like, awesome, because it wasn't excuses. I just knew how fucked up my body was, and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna be able to jump into classes because you have too many fucking questions, and you're not gonna be able to move correctly. And then like it was just me being like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm taking a private with Jimbo. And then I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And it gave me space, and it wasn't in a class. And then now I can transfer that. But that was just my personal experience of what I had to do in order to get to where I want to go.
And it's like you said, because you want to add now the kickboxing, but it's like you said before, it's like I'm just gonna creep in.
Yeah. I don't need to do kickboxing 7 days a week.
It's not like you gotta jump full in and be like 5 days a week.
Let's go. I want to fucking throw up.
I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything. So it's just creeping and just keep creeping in and keep creeping in.
It's all a puzzle piece, right? Like, so we talk about this a good amount of time. Everything that you're doing, like slowly but surely, you're finding those different puzzle pieces for your own journey, for your own puzzle, right? So like for me, right, it would be like patience, right? Like that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on for myself, just like trying to be more patient, not just with people in general, but more so like with my son, right? Like with Lucius, trying to find, because bro, an 8-year-old, he knows how to push that button.
I don't know how people are parents. Like, so, I keep apologizing to mine. I'm so sorry.
But, trying to find more patience, right? And more understanding and all that stuff, right? But also, like, as far as training goes, like the wrestling, the MMA, the jiu-jitsu, the kickboxing, the strength and conditioning, the cardio, and all of these different things are just puzzle pieces to this thing that I'm trying to build, right? The podcast, the brand, and so on and so forth. Like it never ends, but that's just like the puzzle's never gonna end, right? Because it's just part of my path, my journey, as far as like what I'm trying to build and create. So it's like along the way you pick up all these different things that you're like, oh, let me keep that for my toolbox, and then, oh, let me add that puzzle piece. Like I finally figured this out. Like, okay, you know, when we started training, like the intensity versus the consistency, or, you know, just little things like that that you pick up along the way. And I feel like a big piece that people get lost in is like, man, I should have started this however long ago when this person was doing it. That's not your journey. That's not your path. Like, so whenever it was meant for you to start or whatever else, or whenever you figure that out, that's when it was meant for you, you know? So you, like, if you fall down, or, you know, if you lost your way, but then you're like, I figured this out. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, that's when it was meant for you to figure that out.
And even when I would like to add to that, even when you do start making these changes, it's not a smooth sailing road. Like, you're gonna fall off again.
No,
You know,
it's so difficult.
You're never
Yeah.
gonna have it all the way figured out. But I told Jamie, this is like, you know, you fall off the horse, you gotta keep getting back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the day you die. You know what I'm saying? It's just you. And then I said this before, like, you fall off the horse and then you get back on. You have the courage to actually get back on. You start to ride it a little bit longer, so you back in your mold. And for a little bit longer, and then you fall off again, and take as much time you need to like gather yourself up again, but then you get back on and you ride it even a little bit longer, you know. So it's just about,
yeah, then you figure different things out, right? Like you figure out like, okay, how do I avoid getting knocked off by that again? And then something else happens and you get knocked off by this new obstacle, and you're like, I didn't know about this. You get back on again, and then you start figuring shit out, and sooner or later you know, it looks to people that you're doing it really easy or whatever else, but honestly it's hard work. Like it never ends. But what's the alternative? Just fucking walking? Like, why? Just get back up on the horse, keep going, right? Like, I mean, at least that's the way I feel, right? Like, what's the alternative? Quitting, throwing in the towel, and being like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna sit right here and like cross my arms and be upset at the world because, you know, I fell off. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, everybody falls off at one point in their path, right? But, you know, I feel like the greatest, or the GOATs, right? I feel they're the GOATs because they just kept going, right? Like, I think Michael Jordan said in a quote, like, you know, how many times he missed the game-winning shot or whatever else, but he's the GOAT because he kept going. Like, he's done however much, but like, nobody remembers like all the times you fucked up. Everybody remembers all the successes and everything else, right? I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, and to add to that, Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. Like,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how many people that would have discouraged?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of kids that,
you know,
they miss that cut, and then they don't play the sport anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, we're not gonna escape this thing without taking a lump here, not here and there all the time. You're gonna take your lumps, but I see that the best people that persevere are the ones that could take their lumps and, you know, just keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to change my mentality towards myself, where like I'd be like, okay, like all last month, I don't have time to eat. Like, I didn't eat breakfast this morning. As soon as we're done here, I probably won't be eating my first meal till 3:00. And like, I'm like, yo, like, that's not good. And then I was like, okay, you need to start meal prepping in November. And then I haven't done that yet. And then I normally start being upset with myself, where I'm like, you fucking idiot. You still haven't, you were supposed to do this November 1st. November 1st, you were supposed to do this. Why are you not doing it? And I like really used to like come down on myself. And I'm like, then the other day I was like, fuck, order your containers. And they're right over there. And they came in and I got them, and I was like, cool, you did it. You ordered containers. This isn't how this shit works. This isn't how you just go, I'm meal prepping, and then you meal prep. But that's how I used to try and do shit. And then I would get fucked up from it and then be like, oh, and then put myself down. Then I'd try again. And I have all the ingredients to do it. And then probably Saturday, Sunday, I'll probably start getting ready to do it next week, and then I'll be meal prepping now, and then I'll be doing, and I'm like, oh, all right, like, you stop yelling at yourself because you didn't do it the perfect fucking way every goddamn time. Like, you can't just...
Well, perfection's not... Perfection's the goal, right?
Yeah.
But it's never attainable, right? Like, you're never going to achieve perfection in everything. You're never going to achieve perfection in anything, really, but you're going to get better at it if you keep chasing it, right? So the goal is to continuously chase after how to do it better, right? And how I deal with that shit for myself is similar. Like I get down on myself.
Dude, I used to
I'm the hardest critic for myself, right?
Really fucking like to the point where like therapists are like, dude, what are you doing? Like it's worked in the sense of like getting shit accomplished, but it's very unhealthy to like never give yourself credit, never let yourself go. And I'm learning how to do that more. And I think it'll be something I struggle with for a long time because I got so much done not ever giving myself credit. But like now it's kind of cool to be like, yeah, man, like it's all right that it took me a month to start meal prepping. That's changing the entire fucking way I eat and like having to get up earlier and adding more shit onto my plate. But when I do that, I can start taking stupid shit out of my life, like ordering pizza and doing all this crap because I don't have time. And then that's going to create time. The bad habits are now going to be gone. And then now I'm going to get even more time because I'm not going to eat a whole fucking pizza and be like, I need to go to bed or take 9 naps. Now I'm going to have energy to go out through the day because now I'm eating when I'm supposed to. I'm working out. I feel healthy. And now I'm going to be able to do everything 10 times better. But that isn't going to happen November 1st because I bought a bunch of fucking containers. Like that's work to start meal prepping. And then now that I start looking at things totally different and not like, be like, dude, I don't care if you don't start meal prepping until January and it takes you 2 fucking months, at least you're doing it as opposed to just giving up because you didn't do it the first fucking day.
Exactly.
And that was like a huge mindset where I'm like, I literally have to stop myself and be like, dude, what are you doing? You're running a business. You're doing these podcasts. You're doing fucking food. You're doing all this shit. Like, calm the fuck down, dude. You don't have time. That's why you need to do this.
Yeah, but it's so easy.
Don't yell at yourself.
It's so easy to do that because you're so immersed into it, right? Like you're the one that's doing all this stuff, so you forget like how much you're doing. Like,
and it is easy to order a pizza.
Yeah,
it's really easy to order a pizza.
People are willing to sacrifice, for convenience.
Yeah.
Like,
comfort, man.
Comfort, convenience. We live in that society, just convenience, microwave society. They just want things right away, instant gratification.
Then you eat till you're sick, and then you have a food coma. I didn't understand what food comas were until I started doing it when I got sober, and I would just eat till I'm sick. And then you eat till you're sick, and your whole body is like goes numb. And I mean, we've all been in a food coma before. So like when that happens, you're not paying attention to anything other than what your body is doing in that moment. So it's almost like a numb feeling. So it's the same thing as going and getting fucked up and doing anything else because you're just doing it as a distraction. So now you're eating so much to your point where you're sick. And if you eat till you're sick, all you're thinking is I'm sick, and you're not thinking about your bills and your stress and all that shit. So then it's really easy to fall down a rabbit hole of like, fuck it, dude, I'm not dealing with this day. I'm ordering fucking pizza and I'm eating the whole fucking thing. And then it's just like, and then all your problems go away. Then you sit on the fucking couch. Then I can comfortably watch Netflix and not feel bad about it because I just ate myself into a coma. Now, if I do that normally, if I would be healthy and sitting down, I'm like, dude, you're wasting time. You're supposed to still be at work. Get the fuck back to work.
Have you ever been turned on to time restricted eating?
No, like what is it called?
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah. I did all right with that. For a while.
Because I noticed you said like I'm not eating until 3.
No, I'm already intermittent fasting, but then I'm just eating a whole pizza and and then not doing it correctly.
It
but
on, what you eat.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of people, they will do the time restricted eating, and then when their windows
I should, because I don't have time.
And then they'll be like that time comes, and they'll be like, oh, let me reward myself with like I fasted all these hours. Let me reward myself with like a big pie of pizza. But that's not the way you do that. Like you do the time restricted eating. And then, you break your fast how you would with like a regular small portion meal. And then you just keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? But time restricted eating, I feel like it's something that could benefit a lot of people. Just not because I feel like we live in a culture of like overconsumption as well, too. So it's like the war between consumption or production, or are you more see like people that don't produce anything are busy consuming things. You know what I'm saying? So they just over consuming food, they're over consuming whatever it is, drugs, alcohol,
Netflix,
and then that doesn't lead to production.
No,
you know what I'm saying? So a producer doesn't consume more than he produces. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about like that kind of like tit for tat battle, and just understanding like if you're gonna produce anything or like anything that changes in your produce change in your life, you gotta make these sacrifices, you know. Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
No, that's
it
on
makes
point,
sense.
Yeah.
though. Yeah, it's 100% real, because it's like in today's society, like you're bombarded with advertisements everywhere, right? So it's just like, oh, you know, oh, I need that, I need this, I need that, and everything is like geared towards trying to make things more convenient, or, you know, not as difficult or whatever else, right? But at the end of the day, it's like what we say in the saying that we have in the gym, right? If it's easy, we don't want it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you get it easy, then it's gonna cost you in a different way, right? Like if you get something handed to you, you're not gonna appreciate it as much, right? Like you know, anything else, right? Like
It applies everywhere. I mean, that's a perfect thing to wrap up on. I don't want to keep you guys all day and shit, but like, it's the truth with anything. Like I know people who just got, you know, they get handed lump sums of money, and then they don't really know how to run their business because they never built it from the ground up. And then it's like, then you see them struggle with some things, and then, you know, or anything like that, you know, if you just hand stuff to people, they don't learn any lessons. I'm glad nobody gave me anything this entire journey, because I know how I fucked up so many times. Now I know how to do everything. And then I never had somebody give me money, so now I know how to do everything without money. You know what I mean? Like if I would have started this business and someone's like, here's $500,000, where I'm at now, I'd be like, we need 10 million to do anything. Now I'm like, I can show you how to do all this shit at no fucking cost. Moving into that new studio, I am repurposing everything down here, everything. And it's like, I'll have to do some kind of studio upgrades just for some different things, but I'm excited to fucking repurpose shit. And then the shit I don't use here, I'll use it so I can take the van and go do podcasts on the road. And if I travel, I can use all this equipment to do a million other things. And like, I wasn't like that until I started getting into this and started making massive sacrifices in my life. Living down here and all the bullshit that I had to do with growing this business in this basement, we talked about it beforehand, has completely changed me as a person. There's like, the littlest things are like the biggest deal to me now, and they're just normal shit that everyone else has. Like they're moving the studio. When we moved the studio, and I was like, cool, we're putting a kitchen in. And I was like, cool, like I need a dishwasher. And they're just like, what? And I'm just like, yeah, like I want a dishwasher. That is what, out of everything that is there, like I want like a dishwasher. And I also want a bathroom inside the studio, because I know what it's like to have to share a bathroom in a community type setting. And I'm like, I don't want that. And like, those are the things that I want, is like, it's so simple, but like,
but they mean a lot to you,
yeah.
right?
But
Like, so that's
it's
a
like
win.
when you're handed the keys to everything. I mean, you look at like celebrities' kids and shit, and like most of them really don't do anything because they're just given everything. Like Rod Stewart's son is like one of the biggest fuck ups ever. And it's because he was given fucking a shit ton of money. Like there's nothing you have to work for.
Well, I mean,
and it's the work and the stuff that you do and putting in that work. And I think that's what defines people, and that's what defines character. And I don't know. I'm glad nobody gave me a goddamn thing other than support.
Like there's a difference between like setting your kids up for success by helping them get there on their own, as opposed to like, here you go.
Yeah.
I want to make your life really, really, but you're gonna make their life harder in the long run, because they've never had to hunt for their own food.
Yeah.
You know?
Before we go, Mike, I would like to make one quick important point also. Like, as you get in this journey of like self-improvement, there's still time, a space for you to have that family time, because I feel like that's important too. Like, we're, you know, creatures that need that. We need that social, you know, you don't want to be isolated in a way where your family, from your family. So I like to set things up in borders, you know, or having borders around this. So like, let's say Monday through Friday is your time for you to, whatever that is, for you to get work done. And then you set the weekend, you know, to enjoy family time and participate in maybe things that, you know, because I'm not condoning, you know, the alcohol or this or that, but maybe that's a time to do that. And then once Monday come around, don't call me to participate in that again. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause,
no, I know what you're saying.
You know,
I
have
definitely
balance.
separate the weekends.
Yeah.
I mean,
have
as
balance.
much as I try to.
just having that balance is important, I think, too. You know.
Yeah, because if it's like no extreme is good, right? Like, so you can't go into the extreme of like, I don't socialize with anybody because I'm always working, right? Like you have to have that moment to unwind and like just have a moment to yourself, because when you're constantly going, you never really realize the shit that you're actually doing and accomplishing. And it's when those moments happen that you're like, oh man, okay.
Sunday's my shut off day. I don't do shit on Sundays. I just that's when I'll just like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna watch movies. I'm gonna watch movies today, and then like I just give myself that reset. And like, I've always been like that. I've always hated working on Sundays because I used to work Monday through Saturday at the deli, and then like working on Sundays is just something I don't ever want to do. That's my day to just be like, Michael. It's not fucking podcasting. It's not having to lose weight, not having to do any of this shit. It's just like, and then sometimes when I have my dog, I used to go home a lot more, but, and I try and make time with my parents more, but like I'll go over to my parents' house and like eat dinner, and my dad's watching football and shit. Just shit I did when I lived there. So it's like, that's when I do that. And Saturdays we hang out and watch the fights and shit. So it's like, I definitely separate my time. It makes things way easier, but to be consumed with doing something where you're trying to get to a goal and you do it every day, you're just gonna ruin it, which is why like I'm totally fine with just going once a week, that private, and it's way easier to do because sometimes I can't do it, or sometimes Jimbo can't do it, but we have 6 days in order to get it done, as opposed to like, oh my god, I gotta be in here every fucking day doing all this fucking shit, and I'm like, no, this is gonna be a part of my life, but it needs to be leaked in slowly.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
What do you guys have going on as far as the podcast? Like, I want you guys to promote the podcast and kind of go over like when you guys do it, where they can listen to it and all that kind of stuff. I know Quentin's a part of it. I told him next time if we do something like this, he should definitely tag along. He had to go over to home base, or he said he would have came down today. Yeah. But like, I don't know, just kind of go over where you guys are doing the podcast, what's coming up with the podcast, ideas you have for it, anything like that.
So we usually film episodes on Monday early mornings.
Where do you drop the video?
So Quentin loads it to YouTube and also to Spotify.
Cool.
On the podcast Instagram, the link to the Spotify is on there. I gotta figure out the link tree so that we can just have both. Yeah. Make it super easy, because I've realized like how, I thought I was challenged technologically, but there's a lot of people that can't figure out how to find the YouTube version of it. So to make things simple, I'm gonna just put that there. But yeah, so we do it on Mondays at Primal Performance, which is a gym. It's Bryant's gym in the back of 10th Planet Bethlehem. We do it early Monday mornings. Bryant writes down the entire workout, and then we work out, and then after that we sit down, we have a conversation like immediately after, and then we call it a day and then move on. But what we were able to successfully do is we have like a buffer between the episodes that have been dropped, right? Because this past Monday we dropped episode 5. Yeah. And so like every Monday a new episode drops, but we have other episodes that are just in the chamber getting ready to drop. Keep
doing it. I'm so behind the 8 ball with that shit.
So before we actually started the podcast, I told Jamie and Quentin, I was like, if we're gonna do this, we should make sure we film 4 episodes just to make sure we build some momentum.
Yeah, because we started filming them in September. Yeah. And then we didn't drop the first one until October 10th or 11th or 11th. Yeah, so we dropped the first one then, and then we had like 1 or 2 weeks where either it was my work or Quentin.
Or Brian, there's life always comes with shit.
But we have those extra episodes because of that idea that Bryant had, and then some ideas that we have moving forward. We're gonna have our first guest on. We're gonna have a guest where it's kind of like what we did today with you, and then have them on, and then we have like a list of people that we want to get through, and we're gonna be dropping some merch, some hoodies, like a hoodie, t-shirt, or something like that. We're gonna drop that probably January. Yeah. So like probably towards January we're gonna drop some merch for the podcast. And yeah. Anything.
Also, we're gonna work on getting the YouTube for the podcast, so like it's easier for people to find.
Yeah.
Just
So you would just call it like the name of the podcast would be the
yeah,
YouTube channel.
and then also find a way to get it onto iTunes. So we working on that.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely go hit up YouTube University for some of this stuff and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I still have problems with all that stuff, and it's very hard to do. I'm leaning just towards dealing with Spotify. I mean, I have it go out to everything, and it goes out to like, I sat down here with an intern, and like, there's a way to do it where you can link it all in, and you just literally have to like copy paste, and it takes like an hour and a half to do, and you can put it out to everything. But the way I see everything going is once Spotify opens up doing video the way Rogan's is, that's going to swallow everything, and everyone's going to stop doing them on YouTube. I mean, or maybe they'll do both, but like if I could upload video and audio and there was no commercials on the Spotify thing, that's the way I would go with doing it. I just that's what I see the lane's going to be. I mean, there's always the YouTube lane, but I just think once Spotify makes it so you can do audio and video for a podcast, they're going to be the first service to do audio and video, and everyone does such heavy video because it was originally audio was heavy, but I don't really fuck with podcasts that don't have video anymore because I watch podcasts, I don't listen to them. Yeah. So like in the evening, like I'll put on podcasts and I watch it like TV. And then like I'll just I'll just hang out down here. That's why I started doing video here. I mean, I'm just one person that watches it that way, but like I just think everything's going to go full video because I mean, podcasts are just turning into like TV shows at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
Because like I'll throw on as much as like he's cringeworthy, but I'll watch like Below the Belt just because it's like MMA shit and like I like it because it's produced and looks good and like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if I had the option of uploading all my shit at one space instead of uploading to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, I would just put everything in one spot. And then once you have the link to it too, then but I don't know if Spotify's ever going to do that. I mean, Rogan's the only one that has video on there. But like, do you watch any of his on there?
Yeah.
It's super smooth.
Yeah.
Like you just press play. There's no loading. There's no ads. There's no YouTube bullshit. Like it just goes into his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also not putting ads on that. So I don't know how they'll do that with.
Doesn't he do ads like in the middle of it? Doesn't it pop up sometimes?
Sometimes they
Yeah.
do. Sometimes I've watched them and they don't. I don't know. It's still, I think, a new thing, but you guys are smart for hitting all the things. The YouTube thing will definitely help out. I mean, it's hard to grow the following, but I don't stop. I just,
That's just consistency.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
And it's just like I pick up little followers here and there and it adds up. And I think since we're on, I think this might be episode 200. So, I mean, we've gotten like a little over 500 subscribers, or we're almost at 500 subscribers. But to me, that's a lot because it all came from people watching the show. It isn't just like they're people that watch. It's not just people signing up. Oh, cool, I'll follow you. Like they're people that fuck with the show.
Yeah.
So to me, that number is big, even though some people might not think it is.
I
But
think Quentin did the numbers or told us like we have I think a solid 25 listeners right now, and for us we're only at episode 5 that dropped, so I think it's awesome. Like we can only continue to go up, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it's just
100.
No, 100 total listens.
Oh,
but
okay.
like out of
episodes,
out of episodes, I think it's like 25 or something.
But it's also difficult because it's like there's different numbers on iTunes, there's different numbers on YouTube. There's like I have to go through and get all my numbers for this team I started working with, and I'm like I have anxiety thinking about it because I'm like, dude, I don't know how to fucking do all this shit.
we gotta get the mobility stick back.
Yeah. But it's a mountain to climb, but you guys are doing all the right things.
Yeah, no, it's something that Bryant said when we first started. He's like, listen, however this starts out, it doesn't matter. Like we're gonna keep going, and in a year or 2 years, when people still see us dropping episodes, they're gonna have to eventually, be like, oh, maybe
it's
that
the only way
curiosity-
it grows. It's just like anything else and everything we talked about. It's just consistency and dropping them, consistency and moving them, and it's like, why wouldn't you do that? It's fucking. You can pick up. It's advertisement for everything you guys are doing.
Do you pay attention to like the Instagram page that we have?
Yeah.
So what do you think of the content that goes on there? Like, do you like the consistency behind it or whatever else? Like,
You just got to be consistent.
Yeah.
It's just, you just keep putting stuff up and not care what anyone thinks about what you're putting up.
man, that's,
I don't give a fuck about what anyone says about my shit. I
That's been
haven't
the
in a very
hardest-
long time.
That's been the hardest piece for me. Like, as far as like starting to build my own personal brand, like aside from the podcast and also the podcast page, is like in the beginning I would care so much, like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, is this like, what do you think of this, like, for a post? And then now I'm at the
It's
point
just
where
trying stuff
I'm
out.
just like, fuck it, send it.
Yeah, and it's all on how you want to do. Like mine's a different way of branding. It's like I've branded myself into what I'm doing because it all started from the clothing company. So the clothing company started on a journey that I'm going. So you can brand it on a personal aspect, or you could be branding it around a mission statement and like a business. So like Finishers is branded differently than what I'm doing because it's Zach and JM, but like they branded it as like, you know, I was talking to Zach about it. I mean, it's a community over there now. Like it's a free functioning thing. So like how 10th Planet, Bethlehem, and Finishers is branded, it's not about Zach and JM, it's about everybody in the community in the school. So it's like it's you have to just look at like how you guys want to brand it. So do you want to brand it where you're just posting, you know, motivational stuff all the time, or do you want other aspects into it? What I tell people, and especially with starting a podcast and shit, is like just see where it goes. Yeah. Like this show's format didn't start being what it like. We used to have so many people involved in this, and like back in the day when, you know, I had like 5 different people interviewing it, then it was myself and Jesse, and then the show grew so much where I have to just do this by myself, and then because I have, like, I'm doing it wrong, but I have to do so many podcasts a week, so the only way to do that is me working alone. And it's not the smartest way to work, but it's how we can get the most content out. So then it's like, now that I have a format with interviewing people one-on-one, I was like, oh, that's totally marketable, and like that's exactly what I wanted, but I couldn't do that with 2 people. But because I pushed to this far, I can now do a show like this. I can do a show with Finishers. I can do a show alone. I can do the show any way I want. But then there's different avenues of how you want to market it and how you want people to perceive it. And then
there's a lot of levels to it. And
yeah, so like I can do those fuck off shows where we dressed up for Halloween, and like that's what
I thought that was hilarious.
But that's what the show used to be when it started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what the show was. We used to just get fucked up. So like now it's like when I had an author on yesterday who I'm going to drop her podcast hopefully tomorrow. So she's pushing a children's book that came out for Christmas. Now that is a totally different interview than what we're doing. We're talking about motivation and whatnot. I had to interview her in a style that's going to be able to hopefully sell her book.
Right.
So like, you know what I mean? Like, so I didn't learn how to do that until I was interviewing one-on-one after the pandemic, and I had to do it that way. So like there's no, it's, we're going circling right back to everything that you guys are teaching me with doing that. Yeah. It's an inch.
I think yeah.
Keep moving it an inch.
One day at a time.
Keep moving it an
inch.
And then it's just like, you know, push your stuff, put your social media out. The fact that you're working with Quentin's massive because you have that right out the gate. So you have your video. You have more going out the gate than most people do. Plus you have a plethora of, you can interview anybody in that school. Yeah. And that, you know what I mean? Like, so you guys just keep moving in an inch. You're doing everything right. You have more stuff. Like I have to drop something tomorrow morning, then I'll probably drop this Monday, but I wanted to, like, I'm behind the 8 ball. But now what I'm learning now where I'm at is like I have to change everything I'm doing, but I have like a team behind me now. So like we're going to take everything I'm doing, and I only want to be doing 1 podcast a week. So I'm not utilizing my time. Mm-hmm. So like now where I'm at, because I've been doing it for fucking 6 years, is like, hey, we can slow down now. Now we can do this once a week, and you don't have to do 3 a week because you grew this to a point where like people are listening, people are following, people are doing things. So now it's working. So now that it's working, I can slow it the fuck down, and then I can be like, cool, I can get Zach's show done, and I can get this show done, and
autopilot.
Yeah. So and then, dude, if I did this show once a week, I'd be 3 months ahead with the amount of podcasts I've done in the last 2 weeks.
Damn.
Like that's where, like, you know, like that's huge. So like this would be going out. All right, cool. This will be out in 2 fucking weeks. Like it's not hey, I got to get this shit done. I can get it done and I can work fast, but it's not the correct way to do it. I mean, the fact that you guys came down here, I offer this to some people and they don't want to do it, or they're nervous and they're scared and they don't want to come down. You guys were like, fuck yeah, let's work out and do that. That to me is like, cool, they're going to do something, because some people get into podcasting and branding and t-shirts and all this shit, and it's a lot. It's a lot to, like, when people start doing shit, you don't find your format until episode 50 or 60, you know? So if you want to figure shit out, do more podcasts, keep doing more, try and do 2 a week, try and do,
like anything else, like with jiu-jitsu, like maybe you don't find that, you can't hit that move in a row yet, but by the time you're doing it, after your 1000th rep of it, then now you. So
look at it this way: when you guys train and you guys do your thing, how long does it take till you can actually compete?
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, it depends who it is, because some of these guys they walk in there and they...
So what my example is like
slow down.
You have to do it until enough, and then when you think that you're ready to compete, that's when you'll have the format for your show. And that's when it'll just be like, you're just doing it. And then you're just coming in and you guys aren't even thinking about doing a podcast. And it's going to be your getaway because it's still work and doing it. The fact that you guys are talking about doing it long-term, that's more than most people do.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to get anything out of this. No. You're building a podcast. You're not like, we're bringing in businesses from the Chamber of Commerce. There's people in this town trying to do stupid shit like that. And I look at them and I'm like, that shit ain't going to work, because you don't want a podcast. You're trying to make money off a podcast. There's a big fucking difference in doing a podcast, building a show, getting your show to be good, paying attention to who's listening, and then building sponsors around that, than trying to take people's money and be like, I'm just going to showcase this business. Give me $150. Like, I see that shit. I'm like, dude, you're not even fucking doing it. You're trying to take money from businesses that aren't established.
Well, it's the same thing. Like,
just taking stabs at people. Fuck that kid.
Fuck them.
We're going off the rails here.
No, but it's like everything else that we've said, right? Like, we're in this shit for the long haul. Like, we're in this shit for the long journey, right? Like, we're not in here for the, for the short win, for that easy comfort right away, that immediate gratification, And I think the big piece, right, is that we didn't come into this with like expectations. We were just like, okay, let's just go down this rabbit hole and see where the fuck it goes. And as we go, we come up with different ideas. We add different things, and we were like, oh, what about this, right? Like, you didn't start doing the quote at the beginning until I think episode 4, right? And then we were like, oh, that's cool, let's do that, right? And then bringing on guests. We just recorded episode 7 this week, right? And we're not going to even have a guest on until I think it's episode 8 or 9, right? So like, it's just levels to it, right? Like, I don't know, like, what do you...
Also, like, our intention, I feel good about putting something out, even if it's not great, and we still working on the message. It's like a message that's gonna help people.
Yeah, it's perfect for what you guys want to do. It's great exposure for anyone who would want to be interested in you, and then they listen to the podcast and they're like, oh, I like that dude's vibes. Like, you know what, I'm going to go in and see what the gym is in the back of the school's all about. Or if somebody at the school starts listening and they're like, oh, I didn't know that's how he was or how these guys are, I'm going to start going back there. Like, you're stupid not to do it. You're using it to grow other things, and you're not just trying to monetize off of a single. It's more exposure for you.
And I think in 2021 we live in the new renaissance, man. Like, everybody has a phone in their hand that can do crazy amount of things. Like, there's people that are putting out podcasts from their phones, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's so many different avenues to express what you got going on, especially if you develop something that's worth putting out, you know what I'm saying? So it's the new renaissance. We just finding different ways to create and put things out,
I think it's awesome. I mean, you guys are both cool. I mean, I've enjoyed both of your messages from JM's podcast and having you on. I want to wrap it up just because we won't stop talking. So I'll have all the links for everything for them with their podcast. That'll all be in the information. And if you go on to I'll have the lower third too. So if you follow any of the links we have for them, you can find the podcast, you can find information out about the school, anything you want to do as far as working with either of them from what we went over, all that's there. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's neveragainstudio.com. That has everything with the podcast on there. You can listen and watch it on the website. It'll also take you to YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you're a YouTube person, subscribe to it. If you subscribe to iTunes or Spotify or any of that shit, I usually drop the audio first. It's just easier than having to do two things on the day of the launch. So when I'm uploading, I will just let the audio fly. So if you are an audio person and you subscribe, you will get the audio earlier. Thank you guys so much for coming on. We can do this anytime you want. You guys want to promote anything, you want to do anything like this again, I am an open door for you guys and everybody over at the school. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.